Hi, it's Mr. T here. In this video we're going to look at torques and how we can use the concept of torques to solve problems. Now I've over 20 years of experience as a science teacher, and I hope in this video I can help you get a better understanding of torques. When you come out of this you feel confident to solve some of those nasty torque problems. Okay, torques. A torque, simply put, is a turning force, and it's measured in Newton meters. It has the Greek symbol tau. Now, we can look at a torque by using a representation here of a steering wheel, or we take a picture of a steering wheel and we can kind of understand what a torque is. Now, if we take the steering wheel and we apply a force to the steering wheel, which is two forces, one with the left, one with the right hand, and let's say we're turning the steering wheel to the right, what we have here is we have a turning part in the middle that is called the fulcrum. We have a lever that goes all the way out to where the force is applied. Now the distance from the fulcrum to the force, that's called D. And these two forces, when you're pushing one up and one down, will cause a twist. And that's what turns the shaft here to turn the wheels, the drive shaft, right? So torques can either be clockwise or anti-clockwise. We think about this in reference to an analog clock, or a clock with hands, and the clock's hands usually go this way, around in this direction, and that direction is called clockwise. So this is actually turning in a clockwise direction, or it has a clockwise torque. Now we can calculate the torque in any situation by using the following formula. This D equals distance, F equals the force that is applied, sorry, D, the distance from the fulcrum to where the force is applied, F is the size of the force, and tau here is the torque, or how big our turning force is. Right, lever diagrams. We use lever diagrams to solve torque problems. So here's let's say I've got this spanner here and I want to know how much torque is this spanner applying to the bolt on the left. So what I want to do is I want to simplify the situation. So I want to get rid of the actual picture, but just put it in a simplified form, and that's called a lever diagram. So the lever diagram has the following points. It has a triangle representing the turning point, and that's called a fulcrum. We have the line here, which is our lever, and that represents the lever part of the spanner in this case. We, on our lever diagram, place an arrow to represent where the force is, and then we make sure that we put like a double, I like to put a double headed arrow here, a thin one, to show the distance. The distance from the fulcrum to the force is this. Now this is a lever diagram I can now solve problems with. The other thing I sometimes want to do is I want to just work out before I start what direction the actual torque is acting in. Now to do that, I just imagine that this lever line here is the hand on a manual clock, or analog clock, sorry, and the triangle is the center. So if the hand is going down that way, it is going clockwise. So we've got a clockwise torque. That's my lever diagram. Right, so the just notice here that the center of this and the center of that, they're the same place. The fulcrum and those are our levers. So here's an example exercise here. I want to work out what is the size of the torque applied to the nut. So I'm going to use our formula that we had on the previous page. Remember that was tau, or torque, equals force times distance. And now I just want to substitute in my force that I can clearly see from my lever diagram and my distance. And I get my answer, 7.7 Newton meters. Okay, so here are some more examples of places where we're using levers that are producing torques. First one is a door. So a door is a simple lever. It's got a turning point, a fulcrum here represented by the triangle. It's got a lever, that's the face of the door here, and it's got a force applied to it, and in this case you're going to pull it outways. So I didn't draw the force on here because it was difficult to show it coming out towards you, but you can imagine a force coming out towards you. Second example here is a tire iron. You get a flat tire on the road and you want to undo the lugger nuts that hold the wheel onto your car, then you're going to use a tire iron. Now that has a turning point that happens at the nut here. We've got a lever and a force that you're applying downways. So this is a situation where we're using a lever as well. What about a book? Okay, that's another simple fulcrum lever situation. The fulcrum is at the spine, the lever is along the face of the book, and the force is applied here upwards to open the book. Your arm's a bit more difficult. You can see the turning point is right there at your elbow. There's the fulcrum. We can see here that the lever is your forearm, but see that the force is not at the end. It's now attached right close to the actual fulcrum. Scissors. Okay, we can see here that there's our fulcrum at the turning point there. If I just think about the top handle of the scissors, we've got a force going downways. So those are 5 lever examples. So another example exercise here is this one here. We've got a bolt with a 3 centimeter wide head. It needs 20 Newton meters to unwind it, or anti-clockwise torque, so we can undo it. What force do your fingers, if you're going to try and undo that bolt with your fingers, need to apply? Here's a picture of the situation. Here's the bolt head. Notice that the distance now is 1.5 centimeters. That's because if it's 3 centimeters wide, the distance from the center, which is the turning point, the fulcrum, to where your fingers are actually applying the force is 1.5 centimeters. Now, we need to draw a lever diagram to solve this. So the first thing we do is we put down the turning point. Now in this case, the bolt doesn't actually have a bar or like a spanner. It doesn't have a classic lever, but we are still applying a leverage force to it a distance away from the fulcrum. So we draw the lever. We put the force down where it is, and don't forget the distance. We don't know the size of the force, so we'll leave this off the lever diagram. That's what we want to find out. But we do know the size of the torque, and we know that it's anti-clockwise, so I've drawn the direction there. So now we can solve the problem. So the first thing we need to do is get the equation. So that's the torque equals force times distance. Because we want to find out here the force, we're going to have to rearrange this. We take the distance that is multiplying on the right and we put it over to the left and make it dividing. So here it is, force equals torque over distance. We substitute in the values and we solve. And that's our answer, 1300 newtons. That is a lot of torque. So 1300 newtons, the force is equivalent to the weight force that is acting on someone who is 130 kgs. Now, if you can apply that much force with your fingers, you're amazingly strong. I don't think they're going to undo this with their fingers. So we need to increase the torque that we can apply with the same force, and the way that we do that is we use a longer lever. So it's unlikely that anyone could actually turn this, but if we use a spanner, we can now make it 15 centimeters. See this? 0.15 meters from the fulcrum now to where we're applying the force. So I can now pull up, so I might better reduce or produce more torque with the same amount of force. So what torque does the spanner apply to the bolt? So imagine you're giving a force of 200 newtons. That means you're applying a force equivalent to about 20 kilograms of weight of mass. Well, sorry, the weight force 20 kilograms of mass would produce. So let's draw the lever diagram. Fulcrum, lever, force. This time I've been told it's 200 newtons. I know the distance. Remember, always put the distance in meters. Sometimes it's given in centimeters or millimeters. We need to convert it to meters. And then we just solve the problem. So the problem here is torque equals force times distance. We've got torque equals 200 newtons times 0.15 meters, and we get an answer here of 30 Newton meters of torque. Now, if we remember the previous question, the actual nut needed 20 Newton meters of torque. So here we've actually applied enough force to loosen the nut. Okay, so we can actually take this even further, and sometimes you may have seen someone do this, but you may not have. So what we can do is we can now extend the spanner. So I can put, here I've put a screwdriver in the end of the spanner, so I've made my lever even longer. So now what we can see as we draw the lever diagram is our distance has doubled. So now we do our calculation. Now we have 60 Newton meters of torque. We have doubled our torque by doubling the distance. So if you have a nut that you can't undo or a bolt you can't undo, try increasing the length of the lever. That will make it, will give you more torque and make it more likely you can undo your nut or your bolt. So why does the torque increase when the screwdriver is added? So we need to be able to answer these types of explanations using proportionality statements and a structured logical answer. So we're going to use this equation here, that torque equals force times distance, to solve or to be able to, as a basis to write this answer. So the first thing we can say is the screwdriver increases the distance the force can be applied from the fulcrum. That's pretty straightforward. We've increased the distance by adding the screwdriver. So I've applied the context to what actually occurs here. We've increased the distance. The second thing is you're still applying the same force. The force is constant. So that's important, because what that means is when we look at this equation here, force is going to have no impact because it doesn't change. So we're only going to be interested in the change of D and how it affects T. So if we get rid of F, we now say that D is proportional to T. D is proportional to T. Or I can write it as a proportionality statement, and that is T here is proportional to D. It doesn't matter which way around I put it. I like to put the T on the left. Okay, so therefore, since D has doubled, because we have doubled this, this will double, because these two are proportional to each other. Okay, let's look at one more problem, and then we'll finish up the video. Okay, let's look at a final problem. So imagine that we've got that bolt and we want to work out exactly what force our fingers need to apply if the friction force on the bolt is 6,000 newtons. Now I haven't said it here, but let's assume that the actual screw part of the bolt is half the diameter of the actual head of the bolt. So here's a diagram of that. So I've shown the force of friction acting on the bolt there. So the force of friction will act opposite to the direction that we want to turn it, right? So it's the force of friction is going to produce an anti-clockwise torque. Notice the distance is 0.75 centimeters from the fulcrum. So it's the actual the screwed bit around the length of the bolt. And then the force I'm going to apply now is D2 is 1.5 centimeters from the fulcrum. Now the torques that are produced by these two are in opposite directions. The applied force we're trying to unscrew is going in the anti-clockwise direction, and the friction force is going in the clockwise direction. Let's draw an actual lever diagram to make this look simpler. So here's our lever diagram. So now we've got our forces shown on the lever diagram. I've put the distances down here more further away just to make them more clear, and I've put them into meters. Now look here, this friction force, like I said, we can easily see it's going to produce a clockwise torque, and the force that we apply is going to produce an anti-clockwise torque. Now here's how it works. This friction force here, right, if I want to start turning this anti-clockwise, then I need to make the torque going anti-clockwise at least as big as the torque going clockwise. So that's our minimum threshold. So I need to find what is the minimum torque to actually move, minimum torque needed to cancel out the friction. And if I can find the minimum torque needed, I can then go back and calculate this actual friction force. So we use this formula here, and this means that the sigma symbol here means the sum of all the clockwise torques equals the sum of all the anti-clockwise torques. In this case, there is only one clockwise torque produced here, and there is only one anti-clockwise torque. Just take note, these forces, this arrow is not the torque. The torque, remember, is the force times the distance, and the torque produced from this force is the force times the distance. So let's see if we can solve this. I'm going to write down the torque, which is the force times the distance for the clockwise one, and make it equal to the anti-clockwise force times the distance. So our clockwise torque is the force of friction times its distance, which is d1, and anti-clockwise torque is the force applied force times its distance, which is d2. I substitute in the values. Okay, so we know that the force that we're applied, the force of friction is 6,000 newtons, and we know the distance that the friction force is being applied from the fulcrum. We don't know the applied force, but we know its distance. So once we put those three things in, we can rearrange. We can take this 0.015 meters and we can move it to the bottom of the other side of the equation, and we carry out the calculation. We get 3,000 newtons. So this is how we would solve a more complex problem using torques. Right, I hope this video has been useful and increased your knowledge of torques. If you like the video, press like, share the content, and subscribe if you want to make sure that you can see the rest of the videos I have on physics.